Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We are picking up right where we left off last episode with our kind of in trouble crew sitting here in low Earth orbit and not enough fuel to really do much about it. I forgot to record locally while I was streaming this on Twitch, so I apologize for the lack of ambient noise or engine sounds, which will be apparent at some point. Anyway, the decision was made at some point after kind of deciding what we are going to do with this to reduce our periapsis to about 120 kilometers. That's within Earth's atmosphere, and make many aerobraking passes to try to lower our orbit into something where we could more easily rendezvous with our target, or at least get to the point where maybe we could let our cargo do its rendezvous on our own while still leaving enough fuel for our shuttle crew to get themselves safely back home. We do use the nitrogen tetroxide and Aerosine 52 as ballast weight to help keep the butt pinned down during the reentry maneuver, and the thrusters do provide some measure of stability when you're really high up in the atmosphere, helping us keep that tail plane straight and where we want to be. Also, prior to or contrary to what we would normally do during an actual reentry procedure, we're going to flip upside down and go inverted and try to use what little drag we can actually generate at this extreme altitude to help push ourselves lower into the atmosphere, continuing to lower that periapsis just a little bit each pass. And of course, the returns on doing aerobraking passes like this, they go up a little bit each time because the angle of your ellipse orbit changes, so you spend a little longer in the atmosphere each time as your apoapsis lowers. Even if your periapsis stays the same with a lower apoapsis, you're entering the atmosphere a little bit earlier on your ellipse than you were the previous pass. So the returns kind of increase a little bit, although at this altitude, the increase in that return is pretty marginal. I think we are seeing somewhere between 10 and 15 kilometer reduction per pass, and we did a bunch of them. This was actually like the first half of the live stream was just doing this over and over and over again. We did have lots of time to talk and discuss the best way to go about this, and eventually we decided that we can leave the cargo bay's doors open and the solar panels extended because we're not generating enough drag to damage them, but yet somehow expecting them to, help correct for this. And I guess it would correct for this, given enough time to do so. However, we have more than a few very power-hungry avionics cores on board this habitation slash command module part, which is making keeping electric charge where it needs to be a little difficult. We're even running both of our fuel cells on the SKS at full bore or whatever, with our solar panels extended and getting pretty good angle on the sun for the entire time it's in sunlight, and yet we are still at a drain for our electric charge. And at some point, our shuttle disappeared after taking a quick save, so we had to F5, F9 it, and boop, there it is. We're back. So that was a small emergency, thankfully diverted. But nonetheless, our power problem has not been solved. We've even tried disabling resource transfer through the docking ports, thinking that if we just let the batteries in our cargo die and the shuttle can maintain positive charge, we can top those batteries off later with the much bigger ones inside the shuttle. However, they persisted to drain, and we don't have a toolkit on board. We did have the idea of maybe just kicking off a couple of those cores and letting them fall and just not be part of the equation anymore. We would replace them later on a subsequent flight, of course, but for the time being, we are still very much in the negative when it comes to our electric charge. So we are just diverting charge from our greenhouse command module into the shuttle proper, just to keep the lights on, keep the air pumps running, keep the temperature control going. And yeah, I was trying to move around some resources through ship manifest and hit the wrong button here or there. So there was the persistent ship manifest draining buzz noise that is just absolutely horrendous. That was distracting for a while, but we had a new idea kind of poke its head. It turns out, yeah, we actually keep a Nemo on station at Kauai Potato Station, which is in a similar orbit, and can carry about 30 tons of fuel. So we'll normalize our orbit and then switch out to Kauai Potato Station, where Crush is on hand. This is one of our Dirtfish lunar transfer vehicles. This is usually used to ferry crew back and forth between Kauai Potato Station and either Tremonia Station or Hotel Coast Cosmos, both in lunar orbit. But it has its own avionics core, so it does not need a Kerbal on board to pilot it. We can be entirely automated. And like I said before, it carries about 30 tons of fuel to get itself to lunar orbit from Earth or vice versa. The problem is our SKS shuttle does not have the Apollo docking port as its standard unit like our stations do, which is why we have this little docking adapter that we kept on hand for SKS dockings here at Kauai Potato Station. We are going to have to dock with it and bring it along, and hopefully we can get our roll orientation in such a manner that those storage crates that probably have the tools we would like to have on board uh, aren't in the way of our exhaust plumes. And just a little bit of nudge, blink, docked. And now we have to bring this whole thing out to the SKS and perform a docking. The SKS has a NASA standard docking port under that shielded nose cone that we would use for normal linear dockings of things, but I really don't like doing nose-on dockings with that thing at Kauai Potato Station because it's heavy enough to just push the station around instead of just kind of being a degree off axis and everything falling in line. It just doesn't want to do that. So it turns out we got the orientation correct. Those crates are not in the way. We are just kind of jettisoning extra life support that we don't actually need. The crew will be well prepared to handle their, I don't know, extended stay in orbit. However, these crates are making a weight imbalance unbearable and unflyable. So we will jettison them despite them probably having the toolkits that we need to solve our battery problems. That's just the lowest priority on the problems list right now. And seeing as how most of them can be cured with 30 tons of fuel, we're going to make that the priority as far as getting this delivery done and intact, and maybe even actually completing this mission the way it was supposed to be done. I mean, minus one life support pod that we threw away because, saving mass or something. It was a third of our cargo, basically, to just go ahead and jettison that. But we've changed our orbit, and we are now making for rendezvous with about 76 meters difference and a pretty good TWR. We'll come in just off the side of the SKS here and then bring ourselves along in front so that we can back into our spot and dock. The other advantage here is those big solar panels that Crush is bringing along should help alleviate our power imbalance if we can just go ahead and try to figure out how to keep SKS still. I think we had disabled some systems. SKS does have a reaction wheel. It is really, really, really underpowered. I mean, I guess by stock KSP standards, or really overpowered by RSS standards. Take your pick. But we didn't have to spend much thruster fuel to do some basic rotation maneuvers. And now we'll just go ahead and try to get Crush lined up here at the nose. We've got the docking shield open so that we can go ahead and pull ourselves into the spot. We're just going to try to roll so that we can optimize our angle with those solar panels. We really, really, really would like to help solve some of this battery issue. And a couple of nudge and boop, docked. And it looks pretty good doing it. And now we can transfer the bulk of our mass back into SKS so that we can actually have enough fuel to keep this mission alive And turns out, little lunar transfer vehicle actually carries more fuel than we can put into the SKS as a whole, and including our extra little uh, docking tug tank there at the back, and brings a nice little boost of battery power, also making things just a huge sigh of relief. I really wish we had thought of this in the first episode. Now, here's a quick F5, F9 to get rid of that buzzing noise from Ship Manifest, finally. And then we'll just take a couple of quick orbits, enjoying extra available power on those solar panels and all the extra fuel so that we can go ahead and make a 44 meter per second correction to bring our separation at closest approach with our designated target down to within 5 or 6 kilometers. And then we'll just touch up on RCS so that we can go ahead and try to make rendezvous. I was really running short of time at this point in the live stream. I was absolutely amazed at how long trying to figure out a solution to this actually would take. And massive credit to Wookie Goldberg, who built not only Crush and redesigned SKS, but had the idea of using Crush here as the rescue craft with the docking adapter to get this mission back on track as intended, so we can actually deliver the core part, which is the greenhouse and the command pod, and half of our secondary objectives, the life support pods, to our intended target, so that we may test the functionality of these greenhouse pods before we ever actually trust a crew to go any distance with them. But here is our rendezvous burn, and coming up a little more than 200 some odd meters off the coast, we'll just zero out our velocity, and that's where we're going to leave this one. So thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. So until then, see you later.